Good afternoon, everyone. I really appreciate this opportunity to talk about Flood Platform and give you an update on where we are with it. There's a huge amount of functionality in Flood Platform, so I really only have time to talk through some of the key areas, but I hope that'll give you a good broad overview of what Flood Platform can do. Over the next 20 minutes or so, I'm going to give you an overview of Flood Platform, including a live demonstration, and then we've got some time for Q&A at the back end of the webinar. So I'm going to give you an introduction to the platform. What is it and what can it do? I'm going to go through some of the key capabilities, so to pick out some of the key capabilities and give you a live demonstration of those using the current platform. I'm going to touch on what's next, so what are we adding over the coming weeks ahead of the launch, and I say then we've got some time for a QA at the back of the webinar. Before I dig into Flood Platform, it's worth touching on what our philosophy is when we're designing software, and this is across all of our Flood products, so Flood Modeler, Flood Platform, and others. And this is what we're aspiring to do. So our overarching philosophy, no matter what the tool is, that our tool should be easy to use, robust, and fast. And what we want to really set us apart from the wider industry is our user experience. Whether you're new to the industry, so an aspiring new modeler, all the way through to power users who have been using the software for decades, we want the software to work for you. Because in the UK and across the globe, there really is more work to do than there are the skills available. Modeling software has a very steep learning curve associated with it, and we want to make it easier to access the software, easier to use, whether you're a modeler, stakeholder, client, power user, decision maker. Ultimately, we want the modeling to be enjoyable. And that's hopefully what we'll see as we work through how Flood Platform works, how that user experience works. So what is Flood Platform? Flood Platform started life as an internal tool within Jacobs about 15 years ago and is still heavily used to deliver our projects, whether they be local, national, regional projects, the full gamut from a few simulations through to thousands, tens of thousands of simulations. Flood Platform is used to store all our modeling data, so it's a common repository for that data. It's used to group together our computational resources, so our compute, our GPU, our storage in one place, so it can be distributed globally to our teams. It's used to schedule our model simulations, so when we're trying to run these tens of thousands of simulations, how do you schedule those efficiently? And it's also used to collaborate on that data as well, so sharing that data across teams, both internally and externally. We've been using this for 15 years as our internal tool, and now we're making it available as an external service. And it's migrated to a cloud-based environment. So you access this via a web browser, which I'll show you shortly, and that allows you to manage your simulations, see your data, share your data, and review your data. Flood Platform has brought massive efficiencies to the way Jacobs works internally, and we honestly think these will be mirrored in your own organizations as you adopt new tools, new ways of working. Modeling is made up of lots of complex interrelated tasks and processes, and I'm sure many hydraulic modelers can identify with the challenges of undertaking modeling work, not just getting the data and building the models, but then how do you calibrate them? How do you share them with your colleagues? How do you share them with your clients? How do you explain what you're doing to stakeholders, to communities? When we've been designing Flood Platform, we've engaged heavily with the community, and we've asked what the biggest pains and challenges you are facing with modeling is, and what your vision for modeling is, how you see it's going to change. And we've asked these across a range of different users, across different geographies, and we've had some fairly common feedback, with the challenges falling into one of four categories around collaboration, data, technology, and security. And under each of these main categories, there are individual struggles or challenges coming forward. I'm not going to talk through all these, but I'll certainly highlight some of the key ones. Collaboration, this is something I've battled with for years. Once you've done that modeling, once you've built that model and run those simulations, these models are getting increasingly large. How do I share those, both with people in my own organization and externally? so they can see the results, they can provide feedback to me, and how can I create reports and outputs and deliverables from those models. That's a really key challenge. Data is another key challenge. Our model's getting bigger. We're running more and more simulations. Where do I store that data? I mean, certainly within Jacobs, if you leave modelers to their own devices, they will fill every data resource going. We can't keep working like that. We do need access to bigger data stores. We need to be more efficient in the way we store data and more controlled in how we version control that data as well. So we're only keeping the data we need, and it's clear what the most current data is and what's happened to that data. So tied to that are issues around archiving and restoring projects once a project is complete. Technology, I think this is more in the visions and the aspirations of people's thinking. Technology is always changing. We've seen the advent of machine learning and AI. We've seen greater and greater automation tools out there. How do we harness those technologies to bring us efficiency benefits in the modeling world? Whether that be automating tasks such as model quality assurance, automating the fixing or the improvement of models so we avoid unnecessary rework, calibrating, optimizing models using observed data so we don't manually have to keep going through that process over and over again, managing simulations, including the software licensing, the computer resources. All these things we can be more efficient at if we hold and manage and categorize the data and the models in the right way. And overarching all of this is security. And by data security, I don't just mean making sure only the right people can log on. That is an incredibly important point, but also the resilience of that data. I'm sure I'm not alone as a modeler in having that sinking feeling when late one night you're working hard on a project and you may have overwritten some data or perhaps even deleted the wrong data files and you've had to go away and recreate them. By better managing our data, better managing our models, we can reduce or eliminate the risk of accidental deletion and not be able to recover that data. So we know what data relates to which project, what the current data is, and if something goes wrong, we can recover it. And tied to that is making sure that only the right people have access to that data, both within your organizations and outside your organizations, that granular data control. Before I jump into showing you some of Flood Platform, this is broadly what's going on behind the scenes. So when you access Flood Platform, whether you be a model creator, a stakeholder like a community group, or a client, you can all access Flood Platforms through a single sign-on gateway, which uses tools such as two-factor authentication as default in order to manage access. So whenever I log on to Flood Platform, I get a ping on my phone, checking it's me and confirming I'm logging in from the right place and there's nothing unexpected happening. Once you're into Flood Platform, you've got access to a range of tools and services, including the ability to upload models and results and visualize those within the web browser, a catalog to see where your models are. So you've built hundreds of models over the years. Where have you built them? Where are they? You can build and run your simulations and then analyze the results at the back end of those. We've got model QA and assurance checks. So certainly in the UK, we're implementing the Environment Agency model review and QA tools within Flood Platform. We've got reports and deliverable builders and the ability to share and transfer and collaborate on models. And supporting all those, underlying all this, we've got some key elements. We've got our data storage, automated services, modeling applications, by which we mean Flood Modeler, TwoFlow, HEC-RAS, and SWIM, and others are coming soon as well. Our compute, both CPU and GPU, and increasing use of machine learning and AI to bring further efficiency and further insights into our data. The key components of Flood Platform are model management, calibration, simulation analysis, reporting, visualization, and security and compliance. I'm going to touch on a couple of these with live demonstrations over the next few slides. Model management. We produce terabytes and terabytes of data, and it's hard to keep track of where we've worked, who's worked on projects, where we've worked before, which file is which, and Flood Platform brings automation to all of that. We can upload our models to Flood Platform so they can be categorized and sorted and inspected as well. I'm going to just show you some of that over the next in the next demo. We just load up Flood Platform. So this is Flood Platform, access via a web browser. To log in, I can click the login button. I've already logged in this morning, so it's retained my credentials. And I'm being asked to confirm it's me on my phone. You can't see this, but it's just pinging up on my phone. I'm going to say, yes, that's me in the Bristol office. Click OK, and it's authenticated. So we've got two-factor authentication, so only I can get into my account. Once I'm in, I go to my dashboard. And this is the hub where I can access my model data. We categorize model data by what we call workspaces and then projects. A workspace is anything you want it to be. So it could be a framework you're working on for a client. So it could be, say, for instance, the Environment Agency's mapping and modeling framework. It could be all the projects you're undertaking for a particular client, or it could be all the projects undertaken by a particular team. You can use workspaces to organize your projects and understand where they are. So if you click on Create New Workspace, you can give it a name. So it could be the Bristol Office Projects. You can put a project code in there if you want to. These can be used to track your spend and give it a description. You can put tags on this. So if there are particular clients you're working for, so it could be local council, it could be fluvial projects, it could be whatever you want, or you could tag a person in here, and this is all linked to the Jacobs organization. You can also put a geofence around this. So for instance, if you only wanted projects in here from a certain area, you can put a geofence around it. So say the Bristol office only works on projects in the southwest of England. I can apply that geofence around the southwest of England. And that ensures that only projects related to that office or that region are available in that area. Once I've created that project, I can then go on to apply different team members to it. So I'll go and find that project I just created, sorry, the workspace I just created. Just gone straight past it. There it is. I can edit who has access to this project, this workspace. So under permissions, I've got the user categories, and I can add another user. So we've got all the users within my my domain available to me. So I may want to add my colleague Sophia from Australia, or I may wish to add my colleague Rob Donegan, who's sat opposite me in the same room. And I can control the level of access they've got. So I'm the owner, and I can decide if they're viewers, owners, or admins for that account. And I can also granularly control what each of those permissions people can do. So different people have got different permission sets depending on what I've set up in here. If I go back to go back into that workspace, the Bristol Office projects, I can start to create projects within that workspace. So if I click Add a Project, say I've got a project to do some coastal flood modelling in Clevedon near Bristol. This is Clevedon modelling. I can give a description. And I can put some tags in here like Clevedon. So I can find that more easily later. And again, if I want to, I can add another geofence around here. So this is the town of Clevedon. I can pop another geofence around there. So that project's just happening here. And this makes it far easier to find projects in the future using the catalog tool. Once I've set up that project, I can jump in and I can upload a model. So this is a pure two-flow model. It's a source of flooding is coastal, and it's a 2D model. And again, this categorization helps you search out and find models in the future. Click OK, and that model will be created in the system. And I can upload my model. So just click Upload Model. I track down the model I want to upload. So I'm going to upload this demo model here. Click Open, and it will be uploaded to Flood Platform. Depending on the size of the model, this one's reasonably small. It's about a gigabyte, just half a gigabyte. It can take a few minutes to upload, and it depends entirely on your internet connection. And we've stress tested this with files in the terabyte range, and it works quite nicely. Just to explain what Flood Platform is doing behind the scenes, once it's uploaded that model, It's scanning through to understand what's in there. So it's showing currently is uploaded, and in a few minutes that will change to processing and then processed. I'm going to just jump into a model I uploaded earlier. So this is the same model I uploaded earlier this morning. So that was about 2 hours ago that was uploaded. And this is exactly the same data. And I can jump into it and I can see what that model's made of. So Flood Platform has scanned through all the files, it's found all the simulations, and it's found all the associated files. It's also found errors and problems as it's gone. At the moment, that's limited to missing files or mismatches. But before we launch, I'll also start doing model QA as well, identifying problems with the individual files. So this is a two-flow model. So under composition, I can view the files that make up that model quickly. So if someone's sent me this model, so I've got this from a client, I can quickly see what's in here. So for instance, under runs, I can see the TCF files that have been uploaded. I can visualize those. I can see the batch files that have been used to run some simulations. I can see the boundary condition database, for instance. So this is the setting up the boundaries, and this gets presented as a table. So it's a lot nicer to look at. So I can start to understand this model really quickly. Under the checks folder, I can see all the errors that were identified when I uploaded this model. So it looks like there's a load of results missing for some of the simulations, and they have been flagged within here, and I can go and resolve those by adding the missing files or fixing any links when I've uploaded them. I can also jump into the simulations. So as I say, the software scanned the folder and identified all the simulations that have been run here. So we've got 20 odd simulations for different return periods and different scenarios. And I can see which ones run, which ones haven't been run. And I'll show you how to initiate these later. And also how far did they complete or fail. And if I jump into this individual simulation, I can also start to see how well it performs. I've got access to the number of wet cells, the mass balance information, and so on, as well as the log, so I can access the TLF log and the original TCF file that was used to run the simulation all in one place. Just jumping back into my presentation. I hope that's giving you an idea about how you can manage your models in Flood Platforms. If you've been given a model, say by the Environment Agency as a zip file, you can simply drop it onto Flood Platform, and rather than having to manually search through and understand what's in there, it sorts all that data out for you in a constructive way. Simulation and analysis is the next big thing. So whenever we run our models, we can do this in Flood Platform. So I'm sure we've all been in a position where suddenly you need to run several hundred models in short time, and you don't have the licensing or the capacity to do so. Flood Platform makes use of cloud compute to do this, so it's entirely scalable. So you can see I've got a few simulations here that haven't been run. So this undefended 1 in 300-year event hasn't been run. If I want to run this in Flood Platform, I simply click Send to Queue, get a warning to make sure you really want to do it, click OK, and that will initiate a simulation. And what's happening behind the scenes is a virtual machine, a virtual resource is being used. It's using the version of 2Flow you've specified. It's running that simulation in the cloud, and once the simulation is complete, the results will be restored into your project. And during the simulation run, this will take a couple of minutes to start up because it's quite a big model. You'll start to get feedback in these boxes here, so you can see how well the model's performing. And if it goes unstable, you'll be notified. You'll get a notification to your Flood Platform instance, and that can run on a phone as well, telling you you've got a problem. You can also run multiple simulations at the same time, so you can run unlimited numbers of simulations in parallel. Internally, we're often running hundreds and hundreds of simulations in parallel, and these tend to be quite complex, big models, which take often many hours, if not days, to run. The ability to parallelize our simulations is a huge boon, and once they've run, you can start to analyze those results as well. Visualization is key, and this is something we can't do internally at the moment. This is something that's unique to Flood Platform external, the ability to see your results. So what does that look like? If I go back into Flood Platform and go back to my simulations, if I choose one of these simulations, for instance, the undefended 1 in 1,000 year simulation, I can see it's complete, and I can see best part of 8,000 cells are wet. So there's a lot of water in my model. But I can view the results. So if I go to the results viewer, I'm brought into a GIS interface. I can zoom out and see where I am in the world. I can zoom back in on Clevedon. And this is a two-flow model, so I can switch on the domain check file. So I can see this dotted line shows me the extent of my model. I can now start to visualize my results. So the first thing I'm going to switch on are my depth results. This is a coastal model, so you'll see water coming in from the coast inland. I'm just going to step forward a few time steps and then start finding some water. There we are. So I can time step through my results and visualize those on the screen. I can change how this appears. So I can change the color ramp and the transparency. And as I zoom in, the background mapping will change as well to give you the best view of what you're looking at. I can also add in the vector data as well. So if I want to see the velocity arrows, I can see those too. So I can see the direction the water's flowing at and also the speed at which water's flowing. As I'm doing this, I can also take screen clippings. So I can use this tool here to generate PDF or images of what I've got on the screen, including legends with the depth and the velocity data. I can also measure and inspect off this as well if I want to inspect the results I'm looking at. And any of the 2D results that have been produced as part of the simulation can be loaded into this interface to be looked at. And you see I've got all the vector and raster data as well as the grid checks and all the other check files available to me as well. So I can really get under the hood of this model. I can easily switch layers on and off. I can change the transparency and the view of these simulations as I go. Just to say, we are testing the 1D component of this at the moment in our development environment, and that will be available in the beta shortly. That will give you the ability to see two-flow 1D results, so estuary results, as well as flood model results within the interface. Both see where the 1D components are, inspect them, plot long sections, time series plots, and other information. So no matter how complex your model is, you can see the whole thing in Flood Platform. Collaboration is a really impressive part of Flood Platform, the ability to share your model more widely and also provide comment and feedback on it. So going back into my demo model, I'm just going to switch this to see the maximum extents of my depth. So switch that off and load in depth maximums. If I want to share this with someone, I can do that as I showed you earlier. I can go into the cog icon here, and in the project, and add additional users into it. So clicking on here. Under permissions, I can add additional users in here if I want them to be able to visualize what's going on. So I'm going to add Sophia in there as a viewer. That could be in your organization or outside your organization. So I could add in a client or a stakeholder. Once someone's accessed this, they can leave comments. So for instance, I can see here there's an issue with the model. This model's glass walling. There's a problem, and if I switch on the domain extents, I can see what's happened. This model's too small, and it's stopping water progressing down this road here. So I'm going to add a comment in here. In fact, I've already commented on this model, but I can add a comment again. And these comments are both spatial and temporal, so they can apply either to a location in the model or a time within the model as well. So if I was looking at the animation of the model, we can, if there was an area which was flooding too early or not soon enough, we could add those comments in. And you can tag these comments with the user in question, and they will become threaded comments as well. So you can respond back to them as you've resolved them or as you're investigating them. So it may be over here, for instance. I know there's a water course here, the Blind Joe. I may want to ask, how's this been allowed for? And users can feedback. This is a really powerful tool. It makes it a lot faster to collaborate on your models and pass data backwards and forwards between your team internally as well as your external users and clients. Those are the key elements of Flood Platform I want to show you. I'm come to the end of the webinar. There's a lot more in there. There's a lot more than half an hour's worth in there, and we're adding more all the time as we get ready for the main release in the coming months. I hope you've been impressed with what you've seen, and just to know what's coming soon, improvements to the model management interface. We've got model quality assurance checks. We've got 1D results. We've got more solvers, including Flood Modeler, HEC-RAS, and Swim. Refinements to the collaboration tools. There's a whole host of new things being introduced. So I hope that's giving you an overview of what we're doing.